Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So in this one, we'll see how uh, we can use something known as REST template to call APIs from another service. So let's say we have a user service which contains these endpoints for getting users, creating user, updating user, and so on and so forth. And we have this tutorial service which is a totally different application which runs on a different port. And from this service, we would want to, uh, you know, get the data from user service. Let's say getting all users or getting a user for a particular ID and so on and so forth. So how can we do that? There is one uh, concept known as REST template through which we can do this. Obviously, for large scale system design, we have other concepts like API gateway, um, and externalizing configuration and so on and so forth, which we will look into future. But if we, let's say, have the endpoints with us for the user service, okay, and that is given to us, then with these endpoints, how can we uh, you know get the user's data in tutorial service? This is what we are going to look at in this tutorial, basically integrating two services with the help of this concept. So let's get started on this. Let me quickly go back to our original uh, you know service where we have all these endpoints created for the user. I have also added one more endpoint to get all the users, and for doing that I'm directly calling the user repository injected object and calling the find all function. Okay. Uh, which is an inbuilt function coming with JPA. Uh, and obviously it returns a list of uh, objects of type user. Okay. And it's defined on the root URL only for the user's controller. Okay. So let's quickly check whether these endpoints are working or not. So get users, this is the endpoint, no body, no header, just the get method. Let's see if we are getting the users there. So if I go to the database, I have two users, which are these two users, and I'm getting these two users in the application, in the output for the get users API. Let's see if I'm getting if the get user API is working. So let's have even ID3. Let's see if we are getting the user with ID3. Let's see if we are getting user with ID8 also quickly. So this is also working. Okay. So now let's go to our um, start.spring.io, where we'll try to create another application, which we will call it which we will call as the tutorial service. Okay. And by the way, we don't require any JPA or database related functionality in our tutorial service. Everything what is happening with database is already happening in the user service or the hello service, which we are calling it that way. So it's just that we want to get the user's data. So instead of directly interacting with the user DB, we make use of REST template to call the user service only, since we know its endpoint, and then uh, you know getting the data for the users and using it in tutorial service in whatever way or form. Okay. So in Spring Initializer, what I'm going to do is uh, I'll first select Maven. Uh, I don't know why it's coming like this. Please select it. Okay, now it's fine. So call it as Epicenter, which is the name of our academy. And what I'm going to do is, um, let's say we call it as tutorial service. Okay. This is what we are trying to create from scratch with Maven and default selection for the Spring Boot version. Let's add a couple of dependencies, which would be Spring Web and REST repositories. Okay, we don't need JP as I mentioned because we are not directly doing any database related work in tutorial service. Let's quickly generate this project. Let me open this project, and what I'm going to do quickly here is that I'm going to extract it, okay, and then I'll open that project, menu window. Okay, once I do this, what I do is it will start loading the dependencies or resolving the dependencies, whatever we have included while creating the project. So the form.xml would contain the Spring Starter Web and the REST repository dependency, which we included, which is known as Spring Boot Starter Data REST. Okay, so that is done now. We are ready to basically write some code in this application. Okay, first thing which we would want to do is under the resources, there is application.properties. As we all know, it takes the application name by default, which we have given there, so which is fine. We will do one thing. We will try to run it on 80014. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is we will try to create one controller known as tutorial controller. Okay, and this will be annotations required to create the REST APIs. Now, understand one thing that we are creating REST APIs only, but in tutorial controller, and we would want to call the tutorial service to get the user data because there may be scenarios where you would want uh, to interact or play with data from other services. Okay, so let's say you are working in tutorial service team. Obviously, everything, uh, you know, all the entities won't be available in tutorial service. So you will need to interact with other services, maybe let's say lecture service, whatever service is relevant to your module as a whole, user service, which gives you the user related data and so on and so forth. So, and plus I'll also create one endpoint here. Let's quickly get the boilerplate code. So get, and let's give the starting point for this endpoints as the tutorial service. Okay. And what I'm going to do is tutorials users. Okay. So there is no user class. First, uh, let's try this way. the string output. Okay, and obviously this is where you need to have you need the REST template code to get the data from user service and then return it from this controller. Okay, so I'm not going to the service class here to make it more simpler. Idea is to show you how you can call another service which is running on another port and getting the data from that service. Okay, so I'll start off with first defining the endpoint. Users URL is equal to, as I mentioned, let's say you know the endpoint for that service. Okay, so here I want to get all the users. Okay, so for all the users, the endpoint was this one. So let me quickly go ahead and put that endpoint here. Okay, now let's just instantiate this object with the REST template, which does the magic. Okay. REST template dot get for object. So this function requires your URL of the other service and the return type for that endpoint. Okay. So URL is users URL comma string dot class. Okay. Uh, what we're going to do is print sorry. Uh, tell us that we are inside the tutorial service. Um, or you can just return this instead of printing it out on the console. You can just return this string because we are defining it as the string type. Yeah, all the errors are also resolved. Let's quickly see if we can um, run this application, which is running on port 8001. Okay. And by the way, the other user service also should be up and running. This is very obvious. So yeah, Tomcat started on port 8001. So we have both the services in running mode. Let's quickly um, create the endpoint for getting the users in from the tutorial service. Okay, get user. So here we are going to call the tutorial service, which is on port 8001, and users. This is will be a get request. Other things are not required currently. Headers, it's not required. Save. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if we are able to get the users. Yes, it is able to basically return that string, which is nothing but an array of objects, and it is concatenating with the string which we added here in the tutorials service. As you can see, the users are okay, which means the integration is working. I would also quickly tell you how you can integrate this with integrate it when the return type is not a string but kind of like an object. Okay, so let's say we want to get the details for a particular user. So in this case, what I'm going to do is we want to call this endpoint, which is the users slash user ID endpoint, okay, which returns an object of type user. Okay, for this, what I'm going to do is users slash user ID. That is the first thing. Get user. Okay. And here it type user, but user object doesn't exist in your tutorial service. Okay, remember that thing. So we need to create that user entity, which we'll do in just a bit. Okay. Other things remain the same. So we will call the users get user endpoint. So let's see what is the URL users slash the user ID. Okay, user slash the user ID. Okay. Uh, and here other things will remain the same except this would be a the return type will be user object, okay, which obviously doesn't exist right now. Okay. Let's do one thing. We can just copy that user entity from the hello service to the tutorial service. Okay. We can paste it out. By the way, we don't need database related stuff here, so we can remove the database related annotations and all. It's just a plain simple Java bean which contains the fields and getters and setters. Okay. Other things remain the same. Okay. This will be the same user. Okay, and users here it will be sorry, this is not a list. This is just one user we are returning. My bad. We are giving user ID and we are returning a user of type user. Okay. Why is it redundant? Okay, we could have just returned this here. Okay, we return as a user only. Okay, let me quickly show you. So get user, the return type is user only. So let's quickly run this application now with the new endpoint. We start on port 8001. So here, in this case, what we are going to do is we just add the user ID to the endpoint. Other things remain the same. Okay, and see it works. It returned the user object, that is the JSON, therefore with that ID. And let's quickly check it out with 8 also. Okay, so that is also working. This would not become anything because a user that ID doesn't exist in the user database. Okay, so in this way, we can use REST template to get the data from some other service. Obviously, for this, you would need to know the URL for that service. Okay, that's what I wanted to cover in this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hope you like the video. Uh, for the code, link is there in the description. And if you need any help in building large scale software solutions or AI automation solutions, you can get on a quick consultation call. Again, link is there in the description. So until next time, uh, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.